on the troll.
Yeah, hello and welcome. It's been a minute since you've heard my voice. Yes, Emily has been doing the job, and I'm here now. I'm here for this one specifically. Emily, how are you doing?
I'm good, Mr. Anonymous. How are you?
No, I'm great. I'm doing fine. It's been days. But we're here now. We are hearing a lot of things.
Yeah, Ziabuya, a high court in Pretoria. Hi guys, welcome back to the Mzansi Reality YouTube channel. Thank you so much for
Please,
joining us here again. Thank you for joining us here again for another video, another live stream. It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while. Genzega. But we're here. Let's hear what happened in court today. And we are probably late. I don't know whether we're late or we're on time.
We are late, but because it's been a while, a lot of things had to be set up. Apologies. We had to set up all the way from scratch again and to arrange for the proper setup.
Even now we are not done. We are sitting on the job.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, the Senzo Meyiwa trial resumed yesterday morning, and Advocate Charles MNISI, who represents accused number 1 Moses Bia, as well as accused number 3 Mtobisi Mncube, was expected to cross-examine lead investigator Brigadier Bongani Gininda, and that he did. He did also well. So reports also came in, Mr. Anonymous, on Saturday that a former police investigator was almost kidnapped and had copies of documents relating to this case. They were saying that they were almost stolen from him, whatever, but we had meant to do the video, but we couldn't do the video. But yeah, a lot is going on for those who missed it.
Yeah, well, right now we don't care. What we care about is what happened today in court.
Don't care. So there was a bit of a delay as they were waiting for accused number 1 and 2 to arrive in the morning. And there were whispers also to the judge that I heard. I don't know how many of you guys picked it up. I think the court registrar was saying that it was pertaining instructions of accused number 1. And the judge said that the register, or told the register that they must come to court and they need to talk in court. They can't talk to the people outside. So I don't know what that was about, but I kind of picked it up. So Advocate Zitulele Ngumalo said Advocate Mshololo indicated that she had an emergency on her way to Pretoria from KZN and asked Advocate Ngumalo to stand in for her. And he said that she called him this morning, or yesterday morning rather, and he also said that he discussed it with accused number 5, and accused number 5 confirmed it before the judge as well, that he was okay with Advocate Ngumalo standing in for Advocate Mshololo. So State Prosecutor Judge Baloyi said that they had prepared a new list of exhibits. So Baloyi handed them up. It was regarding paragraph 9 and 10 of the exhibit list. There was a duplication of the statement of warrant officer Amanda Steenkamp, the facial identification expert, their statement, as well as forensic pathology officer Elizabeth Mokwena's statement. So the judge asked if it was the lady or facial recognition expert. So apparently Elizabeth is a forensic pathology officer who says that she's the one who received the body of the deceased at the mortuary. I don't recall her being called to come and testify in court, but they said that they had allocated both of these statements, Exhibit J. So now he had changed the one of Elizabeth, the statement, to Exhibit, I think it was K. And Exhibit J will remain Officer Steenkamp's statement. So Advocate MNISI also began with his cross-examination of Brigadier Gininda on behalf of accused number 1. So MNISI said that there's AVL records that they requested from the state regarding certain vehicles. They have not yet received any response. It is just a reminder that he was saying, and he does realize that it will take a while for that information to be made available. While Advocate Baloyi, on the other hand, said that he did furnish the information, the vehicle that was driven by Sergeant Mohola, the red Golf, when accused number 1 and 2 were arrested, was not fitted with a tracker.
Yeah.
The Toyota Fortuner for the 6th of June 2020 had been furnished. The white BMW records, not the BMW that is alleged or purported to be that of Brigadier Kininda, but the one that belongs or is said to have belonging to Sergeant Mohola.
Deviation.
Yes.
Type of a situation.
Yeah, the one that in 2020 was not existing. Apparently started existing in 2021.
Yeah.
Or 2022.
Trust them to give you what you're not looking for. What we were looking for, probably what is alleged to be the one that is under Ginindi, or not under Ginindi per se, but used by Kinindi.
Yes, in 2020.
That's the one that I think people would have been interested in, and then they come with this one.
Another white BMW.
Same as AVL. All of a sudden, they are busy shoving it in their face, that BMW AVL. Who asked for that? Nobody asked for that. No one said I wanted that. Good thing that MNISI pointed that one out. No one asked for that. So the poor, thank you for renewing. Yeah, it's just it's crazy how we do things. I told you about AVL last time that I don't think MNISI is gonna get that AVL. The most thing that it can get is what we call an affidavit. That's what is probably going to come to your way. I think you must expect that is going to come your way, because what else can they do? I don't see them giving you stuff like that. I don't see them.
Well, MNISI said that he also requested AVL records of officers Buthelezi Maphumulo, Lesering, Jonathan, Yende, and Bongani, and others who were involved in the arrest of accused number 1 and 2, because they could not get the AVL of the Red Golf of when accused number 1 was taken to custody in what he thought was Valeria police station. And as a substitute to the Red Golf, he requested that of the police officers who were there when he was getting arrested. So Baloyi said that the evidence is on record that those police officers testified that there are no records for those vehicles and they cannot take it further than that. MNISI said, I am flabbergasted that my colleague is saying that those officers said that there are no AVL records. How would they have known that those vehicles are not fitted with AVL? Because they were just mere drivers as officers of those vehicles. It's for the first time that he hears that Metro Police officers, their vehicles are not fitted with AVL. And he's also read the record and testimony of those witnesses, and he did not come across such evidence. Now, this is where you see why Advocate MNISI had to have time to read through the record. Understand?
Yeah, it is.
Because now
it was
it
a good thing.
Memories. It jogged memories. It is to his advantage.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So, which is why he said he requested the AVL, and it will also be very surprising that this AVL is also not fitted with the AVL gadgets. Therefore, they are unable to get their AVL records. It would be very sad indeed, because this is central to the case, and cross-examination of this witness here, Brigadier Kininda, without which it would be very prejudiced, and without which they might not even be able to have had those AVL records. But he said that he was not inclined to take Advocate Baloyi's word that those witnesses said that those vehicles did not have AVL gadgets, therefore no AVL records. So the judge asked Baloyi if that evidence was on record, and Baloyi said that he mentioned that they said that those trip logs cannot be located. Them not being located is not them not existing.
Well, you see, did you see what was done there? No. This is talking about something else. AVL, not the trip records.
The trip logs.
The trip logs. That's basically
So
what
it's the
you
trip
write
logs.
down in terms of what do you call it?
Where you went in a book or a logbook of some sort. That's
And
not
he
what
was-
he's asking for.
But Louis does this a lot, man. He does this a lot. I don't know, but he yeah.
It's like this.
What did former president say? You ask me. Is it beyond? Was it what beyond it? Something when he says, if you ask me, like that's exactly what Balo is doing.
Okay.
I answer. He was answering EFF, ne?
I don't remember. I don't recall.
Yeah.
I honestly do not
Latest, Balula made a joke of it. When he said he didn't want to answer questions when he was asked questions. So that's basically, it feels like that. You know, when someone asks you something, you answer a different question. And you get that a lot from Guinea, in my opinion.
Yes.
Then you see, maybe it doesn't, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Don't tell me he doesn't know AVL.
Well,
now he's at a position where he knows AVL.
The vehicles were fitted with AVL in EMPD. I'm sure those records can be found. The judges said that Baloyi would discuss this further with his colleague. Okay, it seemed like the judge didn't want to be a part of this whole process.
Because he had his own plans also of, what do you call it? Inconclusive. He had his own plans. So he didn't want to start.
So in my opinion, I feel like they need to follow through with this AVL. I remember with Musia, we had a similar predicament where he said that he could not retrieve some of the things, and so much extensive cross-examination was done, and he was recalled, and they eventually spoke to the person who was currently at the time responsible for the safekeeping of the logbooks and everything else. I feel like the same thing should be followed through with getting access to those AVL records of EMPD officers that were working in 2020.
Yes.
To call the person that is currently responsible for keeping the records, you understand, of AVL. And also,
this one is even a different situation. It's not something
through.
that SAPS is in control of, because this we're talking about
push harder.
JMPD, right?
Yes.
That's where you are supposed to go to. Unfortunately, it has to go through.
No, but they must do what. Remember what happened with Musia? Similar. Press hard. Do not abandon or forget that you made this request. Keep reminding the state that you want those AVL records from EMPD. Amen. Don't give up. So MNISI started with the taking of the confessions and pointings out, and MNISI said to Brigadier Gininda, you kept on referring to the best practice, and he asked him what he meant by that, this best practice. Gininda said that came from the question of whether he took the confessions. He said it was during his interaction with the late Mr. Mgomezulu, and where he has said that the best practice is when someone who is not involved in the investigation takes the confession. He said that it was preferable that a person who's not involved in the investigation be the one that takes the confession. That was best practice. Not that he could have taken it as an officer, he could have taken it as an officer. Yes, he said he could have taken it as an officer. So it was in that essence. And MNISI asked him, what does this best practice rule entail? And Gininda pretty much repeated what he has said earlier. But then he said, but my lord, I just answered. I said it's best practice that someone who's not involved in the investigation be the one that takes the confession. So MNISI then asked him, is it something that is codified or written written down. And Gininda said that, as he said, nothing prohibited him from taking those confessions. He said that there's no law that says that he can't take the confession under those circumstances. It is a practice that enhances professionalism in the police, fairness and objectivity in the officer that takes the confession, because that person would not be privy to what is contained in the docket. So MNISI tried to briefly summarize what he said by summarizing it in this question. Now he asked him, so in other words, it's a code of ethics that enhances what you refer to as professionalism and objectivity in the execution of your work as a police. And Gininda said it is something that you get taught and not so sure. He said that he didn't want to confine himself to say that it's a code of ethics, because then he'll be asked to refer to say where it is, and he thinks that he may have a challenge with that. So, but what he knows, it's a practice that is commonly taught, and it's advisable that they embark on that instead of taking the confession themselves. Okay. So MNISI asked him, is it something that is only limited to the taking of confessions, or is it something that transcends throughout the execution of police of their duties? And Gininda said situations differ. It depends on what the officer is faced with. Here we're dealing with the taking of confessions, and I answered it in that context, not generally. So MNISI,
Lindy, thank you very much. God bless you. Yes.
So MNISI repeated the question. He said, I'm asking about what you refer to as best practice rule, something that you have already defined. Now, my simple question is this what you describe as the best practice rule only limited to taking of confessions and pointings out? Or does it go beyond the taking of confessions and affect other related duties that the police would do in the scope of their duties? So in whatever the police are doing, do they always have to have in mind this best practice rule? Advocate Baloyi objected. Okay, he interjected and said that the witness has already answered this question. And he said he can only comment on the best practice as far as confessions and pointings out are concerned. And he cannot bind himself as far as other functions of police are concerned.
As always, we expect that. I don't think anyone wouldn't expect that. This was just created for the situation, in my opinion. This is basically MNISI trying to show that certain things were created for a certain reason when it comes to this case. I think what it's trying to show is that this was not done in good faith according to him. He probably does not think that it was done because of what do they call this process?
Due process?
No, this process in good faith and stuff like that. What you just said now, this process, what does Gininda call it?
Best practice.
Best practice.
Yes,
it is
best
if
practice.
if it extended to other things, you would have thought, okay, this is something that you had taught, but it sounds right when you put it, but too perfect, for a situation where these accused are saying, at some point we were harassed, at some point we were coerced. That's what MNISI is trying to show, that maybe this only applied because you wanted to paint yourself in a good light, and it worked for you at the time, but when you were supposed to apply it as something that you learn to other things that happened during the arrest of these people, you did not.
So MNISI said that is not what the witness said. It's coming from the state. What the witness said is that he can only comment on what is happening in the confession and as far as it relates to him taking a confession. And he asked, do you know whether this thing goes beyond the confession or not? that which you refer to as the best practice rule. And Gininda said, but my lord, it is difficult to answer that question. Like I said, it will depend on a particular situation that a police is facing at the time, whether he can apply such a rule. So to answer generally would be a difficult situation. In this situation, I've answered specifically because the question was relating to the question of whether I could have taken it or whether Colonel Mboto could have taken it.
Like the issue of the what we call these statements now that MNISI keeps on wanting and not getting everything that he needs. That's what MNISI is trying to say, that look, you create these rules as you go. You did with allegedly with the statements. You are doing that with this current situation, and that sort of makes you. And indeed, it does make. It seems as if everything was done properly. Not to say it was not done properly. That's what is being portrayed in that court by the current witness, which is contrary to what these accused are saying.
Yes. And when you also think about the first time he interrogates accused number 1 or accused number 2, he doesn't even fill a warning statement at all.
And he makes a situation in this being, these rules, these best practices have been applying and not applying. You look at how the issue of evidence, such as the pistol, and how it was acquired, and there we are here on the issue of the statements and everything. Because of that, also, it created that situation that it's normal, to actually do things like that, until it was probed, and then it's something that they didn't see anything wrong with.
Yes,
there are a lot of things that are being, if you ask me, that are being created along the way, that are some things that if you were not biased as the person who's sitting there, judge sitting there, you would actually look at them and you would feel maybe there is something to these allegations of these people being coerced.
They are immaterial to him, allegedly. So the answer was in that context, that as the best practice rule, it is preferable that someone else takes it. So that was specific in the answer. He said that it was specific. Generally, it's difficult because police officers in the back on various situations and encounter, for example, if a police officer is writing an OB entry, how is best practice rule relevant in that situation? So if they interview the suspect over the phone, or if somebody says that there is a robbery in progress, how is best practice rule applied? So the situation differs. If you are faced with specific situations, then you can know how to react and what method you must use to react to that situation. Now MNISI turned to the issue. He says that he paused during cross-examination on behalf of accused number 3. This is where now I don't recall properly, but did he pause the cross-examination or was he done with the cross-examination of accused number 3? I have a question.
Well, this has been happening in that court. They would ask for things, and some of, even I think Ramsipil, if you were being honest, there are few occasions where they can have a case of saying we were actually not done. We were done on the basis of what was in front of us.
And they did.
So MNISI is using this time to actually further his cross-examination, which I don't have any problem with, for accused number 3 as the person of interest who's actually being targeted as the main culprit of this whole debacle that happened in that house.
There are things that were packed during his cross-examination, and he has
almost all of them. Almost all of them. They've been packing things.
Yes. So yeah, there are some people who are having a problem with this. So that's why I was just asking. What's a hypo? I don't remember necessarily. what had happened. It's been a long time. Well, Gininda said that his recollection is that they were done with everything regarding accused number 3. He pointed out that the last point was when they dealt with the book Iqabani, and he said that he had not read the book, and then MNISI said he would not ask him further. Well, MNISI said, let me revive your memory. We were done with Iqabani. We were at a point where you had brought a number of documents purporting to be warning statements. Others were from Klein Bokkiesdorp. Others were from Nelspruit. Others were from all over the country. That the issue that we were busy with in context of my cross-examination in relation to those documents, you are unable to give me certain answers because you said I didn't give you specific instructions to go and get certain information. And I said to you, I do not give instructions. I'm not the state. It's the prosecution that is supposed to be guiding you on how you get those documents. And I said, it's fine. I will pause then, but I will come back later on those items, which is true. Yeah, it's true. I remember he did say that he was gonna come back to these affidavits. So Gininda said, okay, he argued Gininda and said, no, my lord, the context is not correct. What transpired is correct to say different warning statements from different police stations were brought to me at the request of Advocate MNISI. Then subsequent to that, one warning statement of a specific station. That warning statement was brought without an affidavit as to who gave the warning statement, and that is where the issue of instructions came in, where I said that we were not asked as to where do we get these documents. It was to produce various warning statements, as it was in dispute that there was only one warning statement. So that part of instruction came in that context. Further to that, my position, which I said then, I still stand by it, that there is no policy that states that a specific warning statement should be used whenever a suspect is interrogated or interviewed. So these different warning statements were brought to show exactly that different police stations in the country use different warning statement forms whenever they take down a warning statement. Now the introduction of the Buki Kabani came under that context. So MNISI asked him to respond to his question, telling him that he's not here to give a story. Do you understand? Gininda said, no, I don't understand, my lord. A question has been asked. And then MNISI interjected there and stopped him and said, you never understand, Brigadier, because you have gotten used to that culture. I asked you one thing, you take the whole day to explain something that I have not asked. Baloyi objected, saying that the witness is within his right to elaborate. He's explaining the context in which his learned friend is asking about the warning statements. Now he's explaining the context in which those warning statements came to the fore, and he's also referring to the book. There's nothing wrong with that. He's just given the context, the background to question that is being asked by Advocate MNISI. In other words, just trying to take us back to what happened at that particular moment in time. There's nothing wrong with that. MNISI said that he was not even sure what the state was talking about and referred to all the statements that he was referring to. Then told Gininda that the last point that he was talking about was that there is a colleague that was seated behind him who also got the statement from Nelspruit, and there's no indication exactly who from Nelspruit that they actually got the statement from. They were busy with those statements, not Iqabani. MNISI reminded him that he said he did not know what Iqabani is and probably went and read it and now wants to amend it now. It's fine. The state would lead him in regard with the examination in chief. But as for now, he's on that statement, not Iqabani. Okay. Uthi akayazi Iqabani. Manje useyifunani Iqabani? Yekela Iqabani, Brigadier. Hlukana Iqabani. Iqabani iphuma kuyo nje, iphuma kwiqabani. Sadlula thina lapho. Kirinda kept on arguing, saying that a wrong assertion was put to him by Advocate MNISI, and he said that he was jogging his memory and he was jogging it incorrectly. He said that he did not see how it is that he was not answering what he was saying when he was telling him that's how he remembers how they got where they were. And MNISI went to exhibit ZZ2, a warning statement from Damascus.
Whatever it is, man.
Guys,
in any case, last time I checked, people were moving to America. Butcher, it's okay.
My apologies. Damascus. Gininda said a statement accompanies the statement that was given to Lieutenant Colonel Ruud. MNISI asked for that statement, and Baloyi said that it was handed up. The statement of Harold Stefano Kriel, and MNISI was on the warning statement from Grafrinet and asked for the statement that accompanied it. Baloyi said that it was handed up and looked for it. He was flipping through pages, flipping. Then he found exhibit ZZ3, and MNISI said that he was confused because he doesn't know who is testifying now. He was kind of throwing shade to Advocate Baloyi to say, who is testifying between you and Brigadier Gininda? Because I don't know anymore. Then Gininda explained how he got the warning statements and made copies, and said every warning statement is accompanied by each and every statement. So MNISI asked for the statement that accompanied the statement from Damascus. Gininda said that the affidavit is the statement of Lieutenant Colonel Marai Greba. She is the branch commander for detectives in Damascus. So MNISI said that he never had it and he never received it, since he mentioned that he gave it to the state and said that it was unprocedural for a defense to be handed over a statement in court because he needs to go and study that statement and cross-examine on it. Gininda said that he had given it to the state, and the defense, he did what was asked of him. So MNISI said that the document from Nelspruit, he also does not have the accompanying affidavits. The judge asked MNISI where he was going because he started from SAM 13, and it is only from utilized or for obtaining of warning statements. Gininda said that he doesn't use the form and found all the other form, and then he did it. How does this affect the case? Now, this is the judge asking Advocate MNISI. He asked Nxumalo as well because he saw Nxumalo's facial expressions. I guess he assumed that he was agreeing with what he was saying. And Nxumalo got up and said,
I saw the surprise face there.
That
and
question.
Actually, Nxumalo was annoyed, but with a smile in his face, like, what the hell is this man?
So he was feeling like, oh, I got backup. Let me just throw him off guard and throw him into the sharks. Nxumalo was like, I can't answer that question.
They're getting with the program.
Oh my God! The judge said, to interrogate a warning statement, how does it help with the case? He really doesn't see the point. Or is he doing this on purpose or?
I don't know, man. I feel like he's throwing off people. Like if you buy is a very now
I'm telling you, like you're like, if he's questioning it,
now
if
and
he
then he's
doesn't
just
take
throwing
it as
his
important.
weight behind, and then he, it makes it look like actually you are out of line. Because tell this to someone who's new in this case, and you're telling that person, Guti, we've been collecting warning statements from different courts that has nothing to do with this case. Obviously, it looks like, oh, it's a waste of time. But then you listen to how things are made to be procedural in that court from the police station's point of view, then you realize, oh, we want samples.
So this is how I would guess they throw off like young legal practitioners.
Yeah, to quickly...
Your mind will be so disturbed if you don't know what your end goal looks like in an argument. You'll be so thrown off.
Yeah.
You will lose focus. You'll end up like confused yourself.
Yeah.
So MNISI said that he's not certain whether the forms are coming where they are saying they are coming from without accompanying affidavits, and this witness was saying that. So then there was some more arguments pertaining this, but after the short adjournment, Advocate Baloyi said that regarding the statement, they will make a bundle and give it to Advocate MNISI. The question now becomes, why did they not give it to him all along since January?
Because it was one of those things, like as usual, that were going to be overlooked, if you ask me. Like,
and then he's gaslit to say, you have it. They said he had it. They said, MNISI, you have it. You have these. They've been handed up. And then you come back after the short adjournment and you're saying, I will hand them up. Not even an apology, nothing. Like, so if you don't know your story there, you end up being very confused. So MNISI said that he was wrapping up on accused number 3, and he said, if we were to summarize the evidence that the state has against accused number 3, would I be correct to say the following, that there is evidence against him from Constable Zungu? And Gininda said that's correct. There's evidence of identification from people inside the house on clothes that he was wearing and the hair that he had. They said the suspect with the gun was identified by clothes, hair and color. Gininda said that's correct, but in addition they mentioned the height and also size of the eyes and the hat that he was wearing. So MNISI then said it's on the basis that the state says it matches accused number 3. And Gininda said yes. MNISI said there's also evidence of the firearm found in the scene in possession of accused number 3. And Gininda said that's correct. MNISI said there's also evidence of photos downloaded from his phone. Those photos of the firearm and the bag of money, and I can't recall what else. Then Gininda said correct, and most important is how he looked like by the description of the witnesses on the day of the incident. Now MNISI asked him also the information contained in the confession by accused number 2. Gininda said that's correct. The information also that accused number 3 had contact with accused number 5, which the state seeks to use that as an indication that accused number 3 is also implicated in the commission of this offense. Is that not so? And Gininda said that's correct. Insofar as the confession of accused 1, the name of accused number 3, the first name is mentioned there as a person who received the firearm, whom he alleges that he sold the firearm to that person, and he mentions the name of accused number 3 that is contained in the confession of accused number 1. Only the first name, but the surname is different, but the first name is that of accused number 3. So this is where now...
You remember that name that was thrown around, and it didn't have someone it belongs to. You remember it
there initially, was a name, long time ago.
Now it is,
and then it was somehow changed to Carlos or something like that. That name that was not affiliated with any of the accused. And then now I'm hearing this theory of a firearm being sold. Now I was hearing it for, I think, there was the mention of firearms being sold before.
From accused number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was something of that nature.
Okay. Yeah. So MNISI then said also the evidence of affidavits of people that were taken who are yet to be called. And Gininda said that he can confirm the affidavits, and he said he's not sure if he's in a position to state whether they will be called, and he thinks that Advocate Baloyi would be in a better position to determine that. MNISI then said, now I'm not sure if I missed something. Gininda said that the cell phone records also place him in Fort Loras on the day of the incident, which then corroborates some of the things that were mentioned by Sizwe Zungu and the witness and some of the witnesses that saw him that afternoon. Now, the interesting thing here, in my opinion, is that these cell phone records do say that he was in Fort Loras on the day, but then he went back to Johannesburg CBD, and they do not place him at the scene at the time of the incident. Or the time that the incident happened, the device is not placing him there. But they slide it into the record like it's a fact.
Inconclusive.
And it's rather interesting observation from my part. Inconclusive. Okay. Then MNISI said, from where I'm standing, this is the evidence the state seeks to use to demonstrate or to use that of accused number 3, and that it is one of the two people that were inside the house. And accused number 3 was the one with the gun. So Gininda said, correct. In addition, there's evidence of the ballistics expert that the gun found on accused number 3 is the same gun that discharged the projectile at the scene. MNISI said that when Colonel Mangena testified, he agreed with me when I put the following, that science is an art of precision and accuracy. You were not there, but I'm giving you the gist. Gininda said, I hear the assertion. MNISI then said, you spoke about the description of accused number 3 as the person that was wearing the hat. There is information contained in the forensic and ballistic exhibits that was retrieved from the scene. This is what is happening during the course of investigation. The hat allegedly worn by accused number 3, as the state believes was taken for analysis. Gininda said that he agrees. MNISI said, and this court said that the description of the hat by the witness in the house was a brimmed hat. It was taken for extraction of DNA, and indeed some DNA was found in that hat. Gininda said that's correct. MNISI said, you'd recall you said you also went to accused number 3, where he was held in Johannesburg prison to take DNA. Gininda said that's correct. And MNISI said, in this hat there was a DNA profile. The scientists said there is somebody else's DNA, and this is their DNA profile. That is what the scientists came and told this court. Gininda said, I was not in court, so I won't dispute what was said, but what I recall is that it was a mixed DNA and not one particular DNA that was found. What is a mixed DNA? Yazi, before, when I first heard of this, I forgot my biology basic knowledge, and I'm like, now today that I'm hearing it again over and over again, I have to now ask myself, what is mixed DNA? What is that? Then MNISI said, your recollection is misleading you. In that hat, they found an XY chromosome. This means that that hat was worn by a man. They went on to identify his profile in those 8 columns. In other words, indeed, this hat was worn by a man, not a mixed profile. Gininda insisted that it was a mixed DNA and even suggested that they revisited the report so he can see if he was not making a mistake. MNISI insisted that the DNA profile was that of a male. It is not a question if DNA was found in the samples that they submitted at the Forensic Science Laboratory, that which they took from accused number 3, There
is what we call mixed DNA. So it's not an issue if people wear same hat. But from what I heard in that court, it was not explained as such to say that here are the DNAs of the other person, here are the DNAs of the other person. Do you understand? Like it
It wasn't
explained.
separated.
It was, yes, you need to separate it.
It wasn't separated.
Because
It was explained like
I'm just looking, Googling here. They're saying mixed DNA samples are more challenging to analyze than single source DNA samples because they require identification and separating the DNA profiles of multiple contributors. There was no such thing as separation there that was saying, okay, this is a woman, here is a woman, this character of a woman, this is what we are finding, this is what, do you understand? There was no such. There it was an explanation of matching one A to B, head with the samples that were the bookcaps that were taken from the accused. So that's why I'm surprised of hearing of this mixed DNA.
Hey, Baloy objected and said that the witness is correct. The DNA expert testified that it was a mixture. On the first marker, it's XY. X is for male and female is XX. So on that marker, it's XY. So it's a mixture. Is Advocate Baloy doing this on purpose, guys? I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah, they were supposed to say here's an XX and then here's a D and XY.
It clocked for me, Mr. Anonymous, when I realized that, oh my God, I feel bamboozled. Why am I saying I feel bamboozled? All this time he was saying mixed DNA. I was thinking to myself that it means that there's DNA of many people in that head. Right? That's what I was thinking to myself.
I was also
all this
thinking
time.
like that.
There's
I remember the theory that was put in the media saying that there was a mixed DNA. We even asked ourselves if anyone in that house wore that hat. Yeah, there was a theory of such. It was a theory again. But when it was being analyzed, it was not portrayed as such.
When I heard Advocate Baloy reading and saying that XY.
So XY cannot
male,
be.
XX is for female. So because it's XY, that is a mixture. Oh, my heart sank. Mr. Anonymous, my heart sank. I was like, what is going on? He's reading that XY is a male. How did we move from male to mixed DNA? Just because it has an X and XX is a female chromosome. How did that happen? Family, I don't understand. I thought this was a seasoned advocate. What is going on? It's not the first time he's working with DNA in the court of law. What is going on? Hi, man. I was very shocked. I was like, what? So all this time, I've been thinking that mixed DNA means that there's various people's DNA in that head, and you are trying to tell me that you took XY and said X is for female, Y is for male, and there's a mixture of DNA. I know. No ways. How was this thought of? Like to turn XY and XX to mean mixed DNA. How did that happen? So MNISI said that he doesn't understand the state simply because it was XY, then it is a mixture. No. The state's understanding of DNA profiling, if that is what he's saying, is wrong, because XY stands for male DNA profile and female is XX. And in the samples that was submitted to the forensic science laboratory, they found that there were indeed male DNA. XY. Guys, XY chromosome means it's a male. XX chromosome means it's a female. There is no mixture of DNA in that head.
Not unless the XX part was not read on record.
But even if it was not read, the report of the person who did the DNA testing says that it was a male. Why are they trying to change it? Why? So he said, I can tell you that is what you submitted to the forensic scientist. It is not related to accused number 3. Baloyi then accused MNISI of misreading the evidence of the expert. He said that he has testified and he sees no point in confronting this witness with that evidence. So he doesn't want Brigadier Gininda to speak on DNA evidence now. He testified that you can read a female profile in that evidence, and the example used was a hat worn by a male person that is sometimes worn by a female. It is predominantly a hat that is worn by a male person. It's a mixture. So it's on record that there's no need to argue about that point. So MNISI said, how can accused number 3's DNA, where the police went to Johannesburg prison and they took his saliva, sealed it, packed it, and took it to the forensic science laboratories? Arriving at the lab, the scientists there saying that these samples indeed are able to identify DNA profile, and this DNA profile belongs to a male. Now the state says that which was extracted from accused number 3 was a mixture of him and a woman. So here it seems like they were talking about different DNAs. MNISI was referring to the DNA of accused number 3, which is that of a male, and then it looks like Advocate Baloyi jumped the gun and was ready to defend the mixture that he says the report is saying. But I can conclude from hearing him read that is not what the report is saying. In my opinion. The judge said that they don't understand DNA because they are saying two different things. MNISI was talking about the samples that were taken from accused number 3, and Baloyi was talking about the DNA from the hat. So MNISI said that he was talking about the comparison, and he's not on the comparison yet. He was just talking about DNA of accused number 3. But in talking about it, he revealed so much. Now I can say that I know what he's referring to when they are talking about mixed DNA. By that alone, I got my approval and I'm sticking with it. MNISI then said, I'm saying I have no doubt that what the scientists found was male DNA from the samples taken from accused number 3. Now, having been able to identify or found that there was a DNA profile which they extracted from the hat, they went on a process to compare. He asked Gininda to comment if he had a comment. Gininda said, first of all, I agree that I'm not a scientist, but it does not take a scientist to read the report. Even constables who are detectives straight from detective college, they get reports of DNA. They can read and make sense of it. That's what I've read and that's what I've obtained. He said that the DNA found at the scene was a mixture of a male and a female. That is XY, by the way. Well, he said, I agree with MNISI that the buccals were forwarded for comparison to the DNA from the hat, and it was found to be a mixture. MNISI said when the scientists came to testify about the final results of his analysis on his DNA profiling process, this is what he found. The court heard in respect of all the accused police, also took DNA samples from all of them, and the scientists told this court that none of these accused persons, including number 3, were linked to the hat that was found in the house. Baloyi said that this is a scientific field, that scientists came to court to explain how DNA works. It's unfair to put that question to the witness. For instance, Captain Masitla testified that there are 16 regions that they look at in the DNA. His criteria whether to include or exclude is based on the fact that a sample must be included in all signs. We are back to that 16 regions thing again. Ooh-wee.
Not your father.
Yay.
Using fingerprints. As an
what
example.
a mess.
You know, I know, Buffett, no. Yeah, what LLP, no. LLP, I think it must touch on all these things.
The DNA module must be introduced.
There must be a module that talks about
DNA ballistics must be included as well.
Yes.
To help them analyze better, because this is embarrassing. Nahana all international. There's the DD case happening right now. The level of speed and accuracy and things that are happening in the court. Now you're looking at our courts and is this a joke? Is this a Leon Schuster movie? What is going on? Why are judges...
How can fingerprints be used to compare the situation that includes DNA? Fingerprints,
he even says
DNA.
If they find
Fingerprints,
the 5 lines,
DNA. Fingerprints, DNA.
instead of the
Prints.
7. I'm like, but I cannot compare fingerprints to DNA.
In fact, you can almost compare fingerprints to ballistic striation, yes.
Not DNA. DNA is a totally different ballgame.
Sky.
And you don't understand it. And you have said how many cases.
That's what I'm thinking. Good, okay. In a situation that includes DNA and all these other things, how were you finding people guilty or not guilty innocent? On the basis of what? Like, I'm trying to actually understand. Because I understand. Make me understand.
Is he doing it on purpose or he doesn't understand DNA? I need clarity.
Because you said you are a seasoned judge.
Yes.
And you have an
experience.
NPA man who has 100% record, 100% record
yes, 100%
of conviction.
Record of convictions, yes. This is concerning.
And mostly you are dealing with your in criminal thing. You are dealing with your ballistic. You're dealing with your DNA.
Oh my God.
So you're thinking the issue of Gucci can they ever then such people
that will be beyond their
get any trust on MPA to give them justice?
I'm traumatized. I'm traumatized. I'm traumatized by all of this. This is scary, guys.
Report says it. You don't even need to analyze it. I conclude. My
Just
conclusion,
look at the conclusion
is
if you don't
you
understand.
exclude. Mr. I read a lot. I read all these documents. I've read them. There is no inconclusive there.
No.
And inconclusive, actually, if you sit down and go and try to understand DNA a bit, I'm not a person of biology, but just understand, inconclusive happens in a situation where DNA is not sufficient for it to be compared.
Yes.
So from that,
and mostly it has to do with it being tampered with. Let's say maybe someone tries to clean and then you pick up a little bit of that DNA and then it's contaminated with another chemical or something. It will usually be inconclusive. So
when you have reached inconclusive on the basis of contours, so you
of fingerprints. So to him, fingerprints is exactly the same as buccal swabs.
Omunye uthi no. I will do away with what this expert was doing, the analysis that he did. I'll do away with that. I'll go analyze them one by one myself. While this man, in his submission, he said, as Africans, we do expect some of the, what do we call these things,
Regions.
regions to match, because we are all coming from one
Sub-Saharan.
sub-Saharan. So
Southern Africa.
So all that is out of the window. You would actually take me to jail on the basis that me
7 regions of the 16.
and Emily were from Sub-Sahara. You would arrest me.
What more if we are siblings? You are my brother and I'm your sister. Because some of our DNA strands are going to be similar, but not all. Right? So that means you can't even distinguish between DNA of people that are somewhat not completely related. That's what this means. So if you are struggling to have understood the scientist, the captain was testifying, who does DNA tests on a daily basis, produced a very sensible statement with a conclusion. In case you are confused as to what they are saying, leave the regions alone because you don't understand them. Look at the conclusion.
A simple situation of x minus 1 is equals to 0. You know, it's like someone saying x minus 1 is equals to 0, and then you come and say, oh, therefore x is going to be equals to 0. It's 0. Everything is 0. And then if I say x is equals to 1, and then someone else writes x, repeats the same thing as above, x minus 1 is equals to 0. And then when you say, because Mina, I got 1, I'm wrong. My conclusion is wrong. The correct one is that one at the top, which is
long steps.
X, which is x minus 1. X minus 1 is equals to 0. That's your answer. You're not going to take any simplification any further. You don't care of what happens after that. It remains that x minus 1 is 0. To you, that's it. That's your answer, and you leave it there. So then they talk about analyzing. We analyze to reach the conclusion. And for you to reach the conclusion, you must understand the theory behind it. So if you don't understand the theory, you're still going to compare fingerprints to conclusions with you.
Wabana, if he had just let Captain Masitla give his evidence and digest it instead of wanting to add conclusion, maybe he would be seeing the light.
This started with a question.
Yes.
If they say, I believe and I enjoy the sound of my voice, if it was anything, this is exactly it. I believe and I enjoy the sound of my voice.
Most definitely.
He only asked a question. That question, you get these kids that copy before they answer. They copied it.
Yeah.
They went home. They practiced it. They practiced it. Now they are coming. So if you were to ask Gininde, what is inconclusive according to DNA?
Yeah, they should ask
It
that
will be
question.
very funny because Baloyi will leap into defense.
He's not a DNA.
And ask him, Baloyi, good whenever Baloyi, according to Wena, what is inconclusive when it comes to DNA?
Tell us.
What causes inconclusive? You know, it's crazy, man. It started with that question. From that question, these ones who were sitting down there of doctorates, they were writing, ngathi judge uyayithanda le. Angathi uyayithanda le. Yeah, uyayithanda le.
Inconclusive.
Shaya Dr. Sibanda. we keep on saying inconclusive. No, but send WhatsApp. Hey, subsequently, please remember to say inconclusive in that context. Remember, don't leave inconclusive. And when you explain it, you say they were found on some of these samples. They were found. These regions, they were found. That's your explanation.
Yes.
Because some 7 out of 16 was there. Your conclusion is inconclusive.
It's inconclusive.
Mm.
It's a mixture.
A classical example of do not speak what you don't want your kids to say in front of them.
Yeah.
If you took in Tlamba, your kids are gonna took in Tlamba.
Yes.
So now we cannot even see the right kids. And the funny thing is that if the favorite kids are not being favored by what is written down, then everyone does not understand the DNA in this court. I have 2 senior counsels who do not understand. MNISI understands it.
Yes.
And you know what MNISI is doing? MNISI read the notes and took them as they are. Copy and paste. From the experts. Copy and paste. Simple as that. And then these ones, we want to analyze about Pilato. But confuse a much.
Yeah, they're confusing everyone. Well, the judge said that besides on DNA, the fact that there are 16 matching samples, it doesn't follow that Ratam Khwatleng wasn't there.
Do you hear what the judge is going to write?
That will be
that
the
is
judgment.
His thinking. That is what he's thinking.
He wants to squeeze it in.
That is what the judge is thinking.
The judgment will be saying exactly this, guys.
Yo.
It will.
Yo.
It doesn't mean that they were not there. Oh my God, this is a nightmare. I saw Moses Bia's eyes. It was almost like they had tears towards the end of the day. And I was like, yo, I cannot imagine what these people are feeling. Because wow. I cannot imagine. God, it feels like you are being nailed.
We are better.
Yeah.
We are better. Says Pamban Rain.
That's what it feels like.
Like it or not, we will twist it.
Going down.
If the glove does not fit, we will fit it.
Make it fit. It will fit because we want it to fit. Doesn't matter whether it fits you or not. But it will fit because...
And this is a pattern this is a pattern. The last time phone calls were seen, they were in Joburg.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what Rata said?
What did he say?
Distance, it does not mean that they couldn't have been there at the time. That's exactly
and
creating doubts in everything that is exonerating these people.
Just because the device is there, it does not mean that the owner of the device is also there.
When it suits them.
Do you see where the judgment is going?
When it suits them, it does not mean that the owner is there. When it suits them, the owner should be there.
The owner should be there. Mm. Yes.
So there is no defense then against such. You're doomed if you defend, you're doomed if you're not.
He said that you can have 5, you can have 10. It just says it's inconclusive. That's what the scientist said. The scientist never said that. I'm sure even he's wondering, Haibo, when did I say that? Wherever he is.
We are when I started fearing this whole case, there was an expert who was there to talk about an autopsy.
Yes.
And he was trying to explain how consistent was that thing with certain bullets and certain guns.
Yes.
He was stopped.
Advocate Baloy got up and said, you don't have to it's not the part that you have to testify on.
There's an expert coming for that.
There's an expert that will be coming for that. Yeah, that's when I also got, EBGBs. That, can you let the man
But
speak?
Guinea speaks. There's airtime.
Essays,
If he wants
stories.
to say that I can read DNA reports, it's okay. And when things are hitting the fan,
They are saving him.
no, he's not an expert.
They are swimming with him. Kumnandi. But a whole forensic pathologist, the person who performed an autopsy on Senzo Meyiwa's body, was being limited.
They were borderline.
They did not even share their findings in the court, because their findings, I'm sure they are there, but they couldn't go that far. Interesting. Well, Balo insisted that it was a mixture and went on to the record of Mr. Masitla. The judge said that the record is there, and he said that it's like fingerprints. He gets 5 matching prints, but because the scientific attributes of saying Rata's fingerprints were found at the scene, there must be at least 7 points of identification, but you find 6 or 5 points of identification. It doesn't mean Rata Mkhwatling was not there. It just means those fingerprints, because they don't tally up to, and they are inconclusive. Again, fingerprints and DNA, 2 different things. I cannot believe that this man is analyzing DNA to fingerprints. I'm sitting in disbelief that he's trying to twist DNA evidence to read the same way fingerprint evidence does. I am shocked. I don't know whether he's doing it on purpose or what. Are we the crazy ones? But Lois said that for a person to be included, he must be read in all DNA regions. They were really blocking this DNA thing. They want their theory to be stamped on that record. Okay, that's my opinion. And MNISI said that the final result, which the scientist told this court, was that he even read it. It said, Exhibit X, this is what they are saying from the results in Table 1. I can make the following findings: that the donors of the sample were excluded.
Then a
from
judge
the
called
heads.
it his thesis.
And those donors are Mapisa, Ntanzi, Ngube, Ntuli, and Sipia.
No, give him a chance. He wants to contradict your thesis. Have you ever heard that in court?
He called the findings of the DNA person to be a thesis that MNISI.
You want to contradict your thesis? Now, science does not. Now, basically, he just said science lies now.
Yes.
So you're allowed to
take the findings or the report of
to take
an
what
expert
suits you
and twist it and rewrite it. Just like allegedly, I am going to allege a similar instance might have happened with the ballistic report. Allegedly. Very strong allegedly. But it's giving those vibes now. So now you are trying to literally, in the absence of the person that compiled the report, to say that the report says what the person did not compile.
It's even pointless to recall this guy. You don't even need to recall it. This guy wrote a report.
They are changing that report right before our eyes. Well, he simply says that from his analysis, the samples obtained from the donors could not be matched with DNA found on the hat and the swabs taken from the doors. None of these people matched DNA on the hat. This purpose of this whole exercise was to come to the following: scientists have told this court that the DNA profile found in the hat allegedly left by one of the intruders in the house could not be matched with DNA taken from accused number 3. Kininda said that he understood, and MNISI said, I will give you time to respond. Ginita said he disagreed with what MNISI was saying, okay? And MNISI said, this is what is on record. That is not yet what I'm putting to you. What I'm putting to you is still coming. The judge said, Mr. MNISI, he, meaning Brigadier Ginita, is attacking your thesis. Not him calling DNA expert findings as Mr. MNISI's thesis. MNISI said that it is the scientist's findings. And the judge said he's attacking that thesis. It does not matter whose thesis it is. But at least it's on record. It's confirmed. So Brigadier Ginita is attacking the thesis of the captain. At least it's confirmed. Well, then Ginita said, MNISI says analysis, he's reading it out of context. The analysis reads accused number 3 and even number 2. He said some of the accused are read into the DNA. Then Ginita said the analysis implicates accused 3, 2, and 4. And the only reason given to me by the expert on this finding is that he was not able to read all the accused into the 16 columns. And MNISI said, what I just read to you are the findings after it was analyzed, which you are struggling to put together, that none of the accused was wearing that hat on that day. MNISI says, so what you are saying is that you do not agree with what the scientists are saying in terms of their analysis, but you do agree with what they are saying in terms of their conclusion or finding. Baloyi said that was not correct. That is not the evidence of the scientist. Ginita said that he agreed 100% with the report of Mr. Masitla, but disagrees with the context, the way it's been put to him by the defense.
Point? What is the point? It's written down. Take it.
Well, MNISI laughed and told him that he read, or what he read are the findings of Captain Masitla after he has analyzed what he's struggling to put together, that none of these accused persons, including accused number 5, could thus be said to be the person who was wearing that hat on that day. Simple as that.
Now let's go through this. Thank you, Laura. Thank you very much. God bless you. Let's go through this. The hat in a normal court. Let's say, for argument's sake, this court was in Joburg.
Yes.
You know, there was no one else but other judges, or it was in Bloemfontein, because it seems as if things are happening that side.
Yeah.
Or in KZN.
Yeah.
The hat that these eyewitnesses saw, it excludes these people.
Mm-hmm.
No fingerprints of these people on the door.
Mm-mm.
Nothing.
Mm-mm.
There's only one thing that is in question that puts those people in that house. It's a bullet. And Nayo, the manner in which evidence was handled, it raises eyebrows.
Or
So,
pencil bags and stuff.
yes, the threads issue. Basically, all the thesis that MNISI was reading about accused number 3 is in doubt.
The window.
So, what do you think in a normal court would have happened? These people will be acquitted.
Thrown out.
Will be thrown out. This case, it has no merit. Same as what we have been seeing with this Omotozo guy, people failing to deal with it. NPA edit again, but it just because we are in this court,
it has to drag.
It has to drag.
Now I see why some of the witnesses in the house needed to point at people. Because honestly, now that we are this far, what do they have that places the 2 accused persons that are said to have been in the house? What places them there?
Nothing.
now after this?
Nothing.
Except for the word testimony of Miss Popola and Tumelo Madlala saying,
And no Mr. Yebo.
Mr. Yebo. And his story also doesn't make sense.
And today,
Because
after
now we're
hearing
that it's hearsay, double hearsay.
yes, after hearing his story, we are realizing actually that even now, Absolum Lona, it's hearsay.
He's hearsay. He heard it from
And told
Batuman
his-
Begezeli Ntanzi or something like that.
Who's nowhere to be found in terms of coming and the confession is in doubt. These people are not accepting this confession. They are saying we were forced to say this.
Yeah. So
Now, if you don't believe maybe that these people were forced, let's say you are still doubting.
especially when it comes to Ntanzi.
Why do we have a DNA that is inconclusive, but an expert came and said it's actually excluding those people? Isn't it a sign of something that is being fitted? If it doesn't fit it.
You must acquit. If the glove will not fit, you must acquit. But now we are in the process where the glove is being fitted by force.
It seems. So it seems.
It is being squeezed into this hand and it doesn't fit. But it's been squeezed and pushed. Every day we have to sit there and watch it being squeezed in. The hand won't get in, but we are watching this process of fitting this glove. And it's painful.
So let's continue and finish up.
Well, MNISI said there's no way to put it, having analyzed whether it was mixture or single. The scientist says that these accused persons near Basugela, neither of them was wearing that hat on that day. With all this information from scientists, do you still insist that on your little analysis and corroboration, you still insist that accused number 3 was wearing that hat? Baloyi said he doesn't know whether his learned friend means by little analysis. I hope he's not trying to belittle the witness. MNISI said that he's not. This witness has always been saying, with his understanding on the background of the fact that he's not a scientist. So he's got a limited knowledge with regard to what the scientist has said. And he said he would not belittle the witness. He's been here for a very long time. Well, then Gininda said, I'm not an expert, but it doesn't mean I can't read a report. I'm reading what the report says. The answer, or to answer the question, I was given a mandate to investigate and consulted the expert, and he said you can read accused number 3 in certain regions. Hi, this is funny. So you didn't read the conclusion. You did. Can you even read at this point? Because right now, icon. After the long adjournment, MNISI said that when he followed the trajectory of evidence against accused number 1, the trigger point which led to arrest of accused number 1 was as a result of information from Constable Zungu. Gininda said yes, insofar as accused number 1 is concerned, but it was as a result of the investigation. Zungu came in later. So MNISI said, you were saying the national commissioner who said Zungu had information on a certain person about this case. The essence of the conversation was that MNISI said, and you met with Zungu at the national commissioner's office. Gininda said he then arranged with the national commissioner for the meeting. Right, and when he followed, MNISI was asking him that when he followed his testimony at the inception of the appointment of investigation team, it seems that he was not the only person tasked with this investigation, and Gininda said correct. He was not the only one. The most senior person was him, and he was appointed as the lead investigator. And MNISI said, you went to the National Commissioner's office. Did you find Zungu there? And Gininda said yes. MNISI said, I take it that for the National Commissioner to call you, Zungu must have said something to the National Commissioner. Gininda said, logic dictates So, but I can't say if the brief he gave me is the same as Zungu gave the national commissioner. So MNISI then asked him, and you wouldn't know the circumstances that led to Zungu meeting the national commissioner? Gininda said that he was just told that there was someone with information. And MNISI asked him, do you know the circumstances which led to their meeting? Gininda said, what I know is that he wanted to share the information with the national commissioner. He said that he stands under correction, but it was in a discussion with him and General Leshabani, but it could be as a result of the dangers concerned. So what I remember briefly is Zungu saying that he had told General Leshabani that he is having information concerning the Senzo Meyiwa case, Warawara, and then General Leshabani is actually the one who took him to the National Commissioner's office, right? So that's kind of what Brigadier Gininda's testimony, right, looks like it's going. What then transpired at the meeting, and Gininda said that he gave him information about accused number 1 and 2 and about his father. So he made an arrangement to meet the father to corroborate what he was saying. And MNISI said then you went on with the corroboration process, and Gininda said that led them to the 17th of November 2019, where Constable Zungu's father gave a statement implicating accused number 1 and 2. MNISI asked him, do you recall the date you met Zungu at National Commissioner's office? And Gininda said he doesn't. Maybe between March and May, but Gininda said that it was before November in 2019, so it was in the first quarter. And MNISI asked, what is it that Zungu told you about accused 1 and 2 and his father? Gininda said that it was very short. He told me about his father witnessing a dispute of families of accused 1 and 2. It was then mentioned that accused 1 and 2 were involved in the killing of Senzo Meyiwa. He said he met the father and he corroborated it. And the names of accused 1 and 2 were then mentioned. Gininda said Absalom Zungu did confirm what he heard during that scuffle, that accused 1 and 2 were involved in the killing. And MNISI said, did it come out from Zungu's senior statement that he bore first-hand knowledge of friction, or what he said later on as a dispute of families of accused 1 and 2, or something he heard from somebody else? Gininda said that he mentioned someone and it was a family member, but that person was not willing to talk due to fear of reprisals. Then MNISI was asking about the statement of Zungu before Zungu fetched his father to testify to Brigadier Gininda about how accused 1 and 2 were implicated in the Senzo Meyiwa case. So MNISI then said, after meeting them, you had the national commissioner. Did you go back to your team and say that this is the information I have with regards to the case that we are asked to investigate? Did you report back to Ramohali, Buthelezi and Makubo? Gininda said that at that time, his recollection is that the cracks between them and the other team members was already there. But but they were out of communication, and he said he did not know that this particular information, he shared it with Lieutenant Colonel Buthelezi and Makubo and the team that was part of the cold case. It was given. He also briefed the National Commissioner as they were reporting directly to him, and the briefing he got was continuous until he left the office. At the time when Brigadier Perumel was involved, Brigadier Perumel was mentioned a lot today by Brigadier Gininda because he was senior to him. He said he also briefed him about this, and that led to the meeting of him going with him to meet Constable Zungu on the 13th of November 2019, because he was appointed by the National Commissioner and he was the most senior person who was senior to him, and he briefed the person who was the leader at the time of this investigation. So on the 13th of November, MNISI now asked him, what was necessitated in this meeting between yourself, Zungu, and Perumel? Brigadier Gininda then said Perumel was appointed as the senior person to lead the team. There was one team. Brigadier Gininda now went on to explain again the meeting with Zungu and wanting to meet with his father. But then he said that on the 13th of the 13th of November, that was the first time when Brigadier Perumel saw Zungu. And he said that the meeting was successful. They were able to move forward Zungu said that he would bring his father. So he's making it seem, in my opinion, that Brigadier Perumal was the reason why Zungu fast forwarded the process of bringing in his father to come and testify, in my opinion. So MNISI then said, so the purpose of the meeting on the 13th of November 2019 between yourself, Perumal, and Zungu was that Perumal should meet Zungu personally. And number two, that Zungu should confirm if his father was willing to come and make a statement. Gininda repeated what was said or what he said before. The essence was for the investigation. Gininda said that it was not a formal interview. It was like a whistleblower or like meeting. He compares the meeting that he had with Zungu to that of like meeting with a whistleblower. MNISI then asked Gininda that when he interviewed Zungu Senior, did it come out from his statement that he bore first knowledge of his incident of there being a fight between people that implicated accused number 1 and 2, or that he was narrating something he could have also heard from somebody else? Gininda said he mentioned someone and it needed to be confirmed from him, but the names of accused 1 and 2 came up. Gininda said that he saw that there is an individual from his recollection that he mentions, and he testified about this individual and the efforts they made to come forward, but the relatives adamantly refused, saying that they do not want to get involved because of fear of reprisal, but the fear that might occur. He knows he made mention of someone that they followed, but the person did not want to make a statement. Now MNISI asked him, did he mention that who was there in the friction, or was he there in the friction or dispute that was happening where accused number 1 and 2 were implicated? Or did he say that he got that information from somebody else, that there was a dispute where the name of accused number 2 and 1 came up? Gininda said that his recollection is that he mentioned one of his relatives, and that is why there was a need to get this person who would have closed the chain. It wasn't something that they had at first knowledge of, as Mr. MNISI is saying. So he said that he does not recall whether Absalom Zungu had this from his relative or not. So I have to express, Mr. Anonymous, that I'm kind of worried. I saw Mr. MNISI cough there. He needs to eat honey.
Yep.
It loosens the throat. He needs to eat honey. He also complained also of funny noises. This is the part where now he was complaining about the funny noises in the background by either someone with a pen or something. I think some of the most hilarious comments I read from X today are people are like, what is going on? the comments were so hilarious. They're like, oh my god, they're making him hear stuff. Anyway, guys, that's just something I found so funny, that, you know, it's African chemistry going on, but apparently the noise was real. Some people who were watching from other networks were saying that yes, there was a disturbing noise in the background. It's just that SABC didn't pick it up. Well, he said that he's suffering also from muscle pulls. He was asking for an adjournment, and the judge, of course, disagreed and said, not yet, let us wait until past. Well, Gininda said that the name of this individual that he's talking about, the one who Absalom Zungu heard information from, that accused number 1 and 2 were brought up in a dispute that was happening, is Mbekiseni Ntanzi. The last time they engaged with Mbekiseni Ntanzi was in 2020, and he was still alive, as far as Brigadier Gininda knows. Now the question becomes, why is he not the one testifying? Why are hearsay, triple hearsay? Zungu is like the third person who heard after. Where is Mbekiseni Ntanzi? Because he's the one who's the first point of contact. Why couldn't he testify instead of Zungu? Why did it have to be Zungu who testifies? Why?
Not Absalom, not... Because
why not Mbekiseni? Why Zungu? Why were we subjected to that torturous witness? Why?
Yeah.
And then Mr. MNISI said Zungu, the senior, got what he told Zungu and what he told you from Bekiseni Dance. And Gininda said, yes, he's a relative. They are relatives. He was told as an elder to come and resolve the dispute. Zungu Senior, he is a relative to Ntanzi, so he was talking about his brother. The statement also explained that they were relatives. So it was told in that context that elders must come together to resolve the problem. That is how it was brought to him as far as he told Brigadier Gininda. So court will resume tomorrow. But this is rather interesting. Again, I think I've mentioned this before. I think now we have the second reason as to why Zungu placed or recalls events of him being at a hostel in 2014 and seeing Abosnako Nebamu and stuff, because honestly him having heard from his father who heard from somebody else is not really something that he could have brought to the court of law. And remember how we had found out from members or people that are close to the situation on social media, speaking about how one of the individuals that Zungu was talking about had actually passed on in 2017 and not 2014 like he was saying. Weird things have been happening
in this case. Weird things, but it's okay. Let's see what tomorrow is bringing for us. But for today, guys, we're done, Emil, right?
Yeah. We should think about doing like sessions over the weekend for call-ins, because I have a feeling this week is gonna be a lot.
Yeah. Right now, I need to close my eyes and I need to
rest, guys.
Thank you.
We'll be back tomorrow.
Guys, we'll be back tomorrow. Probably if we're a bit early and we finish early, then the calls we can allow them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys, for your time, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.
Please press that like button, guys. We have 179 only. Come on, guys. I thought that thing of reminding you was over. We just come and do what we have to do. You guys also do what you have to do on your side. Please.
Regular programming. We cannot lose stamina now. We've come too far. I said this case was going to be a marathon, and it's a marathon indeed.
And thank you in advance while you're doing that, and do watch the adverts. It's a bye from us. We appreciate you. Thank you.